I hope I give you the shits, you fucking wimp.
Hello and Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm John.
I'm Justin.
And we're
Gore
the
Goblins.
Gore Goblins. Yeah, whoops. I've
Finally back.
listened. I'm like 0 for 5 in these intros recently. But anyway,
Part of the charm.
as
It's
I
fine.
said, Merry Christmas. Have a happy New Year, probably. Just in case I die, who knows? Anyway, so Merry Christmas.
Starting the holidays.
Hope all y'all had a great Christmas. How was your Christmas, Justin?
Uneventful.
Did you work?
I worked Christmas Eve.
Well, you didn't work on Christmas though.
No.
Okay, well that's good. I was afraid that you worked on Christmas
They
Day.
at least let us have that off.
Well, that's good. You know, the fucking Cracker Barrel. I got a lot of movies for Christmas, including one movie that's been on our one-off list called Body Melt, which is an Australian gore fest that I can't wait to cover. It looks absolutely disgusting.
Awesome.
It's full of gross-ass practical effects. I can't wait to watch it. But I got a lot of movies, including the masterpiece that is RoboCop 3. Because
Is it a masterpiece?
Mom went all out. It's not, but mom went all out for me this year, and I'm very appreciative of that. But yeah, I had a good Christmas. I listened to a lot of death metal. Sorry, it's been a few weeks, by the way. Depression's a bitch, as we all know.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm here now. I made it. I made it out of another rut. So putt.
So now it's time to strut.
Yeah, there we go. See, Justin finished the sentence for me. See, that's why we do this, because sometimes we finish each other's thoughts. But enough about Christmas. Fuck that holiday. It's
Yeah.
over for a whole ass year. Get it out of here. Get him out of here. Go back to sleep, Mariah Carey. We don't need you for 365 days.
You know how many times I heard the same song over and over again at work?
Well, fucking Cracker Barrel, man. Let me tell you. But anyway. It's the 26th of December. That means we're back on our shit. And today, we're back on our shit with a very, very special movie
Yes.
that we've been waiting a long time to do. And luck was finally in our favor to do it. And what's that movie, Justin?
Dog Soldiers.
Came out in 2002. Written and directed by Neil Marshall. It's a fun little action horror comedy about werewolves.
One of the best werewolf movies that exists.
Probably the best werewolf movie of the last 20 years.
Because sad to say, werewolf movies are a hard thing to make, apparently. That's why nobody makes them. Which is sad.
Yeah, and something like this, it kind of has its own unique flavor to it that I really like about it. It's very fun. It's very funny. All the characters are very well written. All the action's very well written. It has practical effects. That's what it needs.
That's the number one thing that stops werewolf movies from being made, the practical effects, is because nobody wants to see a fucking CGI werewolf, American Werewolf in Paris.
Or Wolfman.
Or Wolfman, yeah.
Or
any other werewolf movie that's been coming out.
The fucked up thing about Wolfman, though, is that they had Rick Baker, who did the effects for American Werewolf in London, on the production team. But much like the prequel to The Thing, which we'll talk about that when we get to it, much like the prequel to The Thing, they had all these great practical effects that they just scrubbed over with CGI. Now, in the case of Wolfman, I'm pretty sure that it was more of an enhancement, but doesn't really look like it when you watch the movie now, unfortunately. Not that it still isn't, a fun little gory werewolf movie, but it's just not, it's not American Werewolf in London or this. This is like probably the second best werewolf movie outside of an American Werewolf in London. Because American Werewolf in London is probably my favorite. I haven't seen the original Wolfman. I've been saving that one for a while. I'll get to that one when I get to it. But American Werewolf is like top tier shit. That's perfect. It's got the perfect mix of comedy and horror, and it's got some gnarly-ass practical effects because of Rick Baker. And then you have Dog Soldiers, which, has practical effects. Maybe they're not as good as they are in American Werewolf in London, but it makes up for it with the characters, the comedy, and the action.
Oh, yeah.
This movie's just fantastic. I can't talk enough about how great this movie is. It took me too long to watch it. Kale had been recommending it to me for a while. Justin had been recommending it to me for a while. I finally watched it this past October. Loved it instantly. great, fantastic movie. It's a shame that we never got a sequel, and we'll talk about that because there's a lot of very depressing things I read about that that I'll discuss when we get to that. But before we do any of that, we're going to do what we usually do, give you a little bit of a plot synopsis here. But since this is Justin's favorite werewolf movie, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to him to do it. So, well, just do your thing, cuz. Look at that.
You stole my joke.
I made
you
the
can't steal my
chainsaw joke. I made the chainsaw joke.
No.
I'm gonna go hide in the ground. I don't like that. I
just love that scene instantly plays in my head anytime I hear that sentence.
Yeah, it makes me. It plays in my head too, but
we all know why.
It's more like a nightmare, though.
No.
No, it's no.
Alexander Daddario is not a nightmare.
Well, yeah, but just watch True Detective. Just watch True Detective if you want to see her be hot. That's all you got to do. She's also actually just really good at that show, but outside of just being a very attractive woman. But anyway, without further ado, Justin, I'm gonna hand it over to you. How does Dog Soldiers begin?
It starts with this dude scooping water out of a lake because he's camping with his wife. Apparently, she had to drag him out there to get him away from work. So, I guess he's reluctantly having fun. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah,
he seems to be fine.
We've all been there.
It's cold out there. It looks like.
Yeah, it was cold over here too.
And then she gives him a present. It's a silver knife because she's like, "What's my night without a sword?" Blah blah blah. Romantic talk shit.
It's funny though because when we were watching it, I was like, "Oh, here's your plot device, babe,"
Yeah,
which we'll get
plot
into
device.
that. but anyway,
So they get the gift. She gives the gift. They start doing their usual opening horror movie shit, making out. So they're gonna die. They start doing their thing. He goes to unzip her pants. And instead of hearing her pants unzip, the tent is unzipping. So they both stop and look at that. And then they're like, what the fuck? Woman gets pulled out of the tent. Doesn't scream at first, which I kind of think is a nice touch.
I think she kind of struggles. Yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of in shock of what's going on because she just suddenly lifted up into the air.
Yeah.
Which it's cool. That's kind of realistic. Then she starts screaming when they rip her apart.
Yeah, and blood goes everywhere.
Blood splatters everywhere. The dude is all shaken and stunned. He looks at his knife, but then looks up and something's in his face and title card.
It's Dog Soldiers,
Woo!
Everybody. Woo, and it's a nice metallic blue font thing. It's all right.
Just in your face logo,
Yeah, it comes, and it's like that real steel shink sound,
like an action movie logo.
Like an action movie logo, yeah, like something like in Terminator 2. That's a good one.
Yeah.
When the metal doors close or whatever in front of the skull on fire.
Aren't you excited? They're talking about rebooting it.
They've been talking about rebooting it for a long time. Dark Fate wasn't even bad. It wasn't even bad. That one had James Cameron producing it. I will defend that fucking movie. I don't give a shit. Genesis was a mess, and Genesis was stupid, and Emilia Clarke is not Linda Hamilton. She tried her best, but she's not Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, I didn't like Genesis at all.
And then who fucking played Jai Courtney played fucking Kyle Reese? Does not look like Michael Biehn at all. But it's whatever. It was a fun little mess. I just turned my brain off because at that point in my life, I was like, nothing's ever going to top Terminator 2. Nothing's...
I would have liked it more if they didn't try to reference Terminator 2 so much in that one.
Well, because it's this weird time loop. I don't fucking care. Anyway, and then Dark Fate comes out. I love Mackenzie Davis, so I'm biased. But then that movie comes out, and it's basically just Terminator 2 again because that's all you can do with it at this point. Yeah. And it was fine. It was just Force Awakens, but for Terminator 2, and it was fine. and it didn't make any fucking money because nobody gives a shit about Terminator anymore. So just stop. The last, I guess, quote-unquote good thing, if you ask my uncle, that came out of that franchise was the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which has Lena Headey in it. Love her. But, that got canceled because Fox was stupid.
I like Terminator 3.
Yeah, I haven't seen that since I was a kid, so I don't remember it well enough to know if I like it or not. I liked the games. Redemption was the one that I played. I played the demo of anyway. I didn't like.
I never
owned
game
it
in one night.
But yeah, I mean, I remember Terminator 3 being fun when I was little. I remember not liking it as much as 2, but what do I know? So I think Dark Fate's fine. It's just that It's just that James Cameron tried really hard to push it, but not hard enough. And then it flopped, and he's like, well, I'm just going to finish Avatar. So bye-bye.
Finish Avatar. He's been working on Avatar since he was born.
Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it? But yeah, so he's back on the Blue Man train. Good for him. He's making money. I don't care. But yeah, Dark Fate was just Terminator 2 again. Arnold was fine in it. Linda Hamilton, it was nice to see her again, even though she was old as shit. But you know, and Mackenzie Davis. I love Mackenzie Davis, so whatever. But I thought it's fine. Who cares? It's
was
fucking
fun.
Terminator. I don't care. It's never going to be as good as the second one. Just if you walk into every movie with that mindset, you'll enjoy yourself at least a little bit. Because it's never going to top T2. Never. Not Salvation didn't even fucking come close at all.
Salvation was boring.
Yeah, I know. I didn't. I had that one on DVD when I was younger, and I didn't like it.
It's like the whole essence of John being built up as this savior, and then actually seeing it was like totally different.
Yeah.
You just seemed like he was not accomplishing anything.
Yeah, and I think the point of Dark Fate was that anybody can be that, because you know what makes John Connor so special. Why is his death always the like end? You know, why is that always the looks like we're gonna lose forever? Why does humanity have no other options but Skynet, despite losing multiple times, have all these options to come back? And I think James Cameron knew that, so he was like, "Fuck it, just do whatever. Just fucking let's just give humanity another chance. Fuck it,
Kill him.
So yeah, that's what they did, and I didn't have an issue with it. I was like, "Oh shit, okay." I was like, "This is interesting."
At least it's different.
Everybody else was just like, "How could you kill Edward Furlong?" And I was like, "I don't know, dude. Have you seen him? like, I think he wants to be dead." But that's besides the point. You know, it was fine. It was just like I said, it's just Terminator 2 again. That's all it was. Not as good as Terminator 2, of course, but you know, it's as close as they've ever gotten to doing like a soft reboot of it, and worked for me, but not enough to make enough money to continue. So they're gonna try again
And again.
to reboot it, and it's never gonna be good because the last good chance they had was Sarah Connor Chronicles, but Fox was like, we'd rather invest our money in fucking, I don't know, not this, and then they just stopped investing
More
in it.
Simpsons.
Yeah, more Simpsons. That hasn't run its course yet. Even fucking 13 years ago, it had run its course. But whatever, it's fine. It's whatever. Listen, I love Terminator, so this is it's angry time for me right now. But you know, I don't know. They're gonna keep rebooting it, and until somebody that like has a deep passion for it gets a hold of it and can figure out a way to make it work in a way that makes sense. Then I'm just gonna go into them with my brain turned off.
Yeah.
Until somebody that's like that, like I know, is gonna be like, yeah, it just takes place after Terminator 2. Fuck it, whatever. John and Sarah are dead. What's next? Just do something like that. That's all you got to do, and just make a fun, interesting little time travel movie if you want. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Terminator is never going to be good again. It's okay. It's just one of those franchises.
Yeah.
It's never going to be good again. But I'm sure people said that about Halloween After Resurrection and the Rob Zombie movies. So, you know, it took a little bit, but they eventually found their footing with that. Which update on that? First of all, this is a sidetrack segment if you couldn't tell. Second of all, we're going to be doing Halloween Ends after we finish Evil Dead. So the next episode will be Evil Dead 2013, and then after that we'll do Halloween Ends. And then with Halloween Ends, we'll announce our little. Well, actually, we'll probably announce our little poll for the next episode, and then in Halloween Ends, we'll announce what we're doing after that. So look forward to that. That's going to be a long episode because I got a lot to say about it. Very mixed feelings on it, but.
Oh. I watched another Guy Ritchie movie.
Oh, yeah? What'd you watch this time?
Wrath of Man.
Oh, yeah, how is that one?
It's all right.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. I think my cousins went to go see that one. Or was it the fucking Gentleman? I don't remember.
I just always I didn't think I would like how he starts his movies always like right in the middle or at the end.
Yeah.
But as I watched a couple more of his movies, I went, okay, this is fine. I like it.
You've seen Snatch, right?
I don't think I have.
You should probably watch Snatch. That one's really good. But yeah, Guy Ritchie's fun. He directed Aladdin, the remake with Will Smith. How the Mighty Have Fallen. Anyway, so anyway, that's been a certified sidetrack segment until we get to the next one later on in this
Inevitably.
episode, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, title card. Dog
Boom,
Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers.
What's next?
Cut to nighttime, Scotland. This dude's running through the woods. His name's Cooper. He's being chased by some people. We don't know what's going on. He starts fighting them and does some really, I guess, the dumbest fight scene in the movie, where he goes all fucking Jason Bourne with a flashlight on them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I love that scene.
He knocks the one dude that's in front of him. The flashlight obviously flies forward, but then it's just tumbling in the air right above his head. He catches it, knocks two other guys out, then fucking ninja throws it like it's a...
Before he ninja throws it, he does this point with it like it's a fucking gun, and then he just throws it. It's so funny. I love that scene. And that's the other thing I love about this movie is it's got like a B-movie charm to it. And that's, we talked about it with Evil Dead, how much we love that kind of shit. I love when a movie isn't afraid to get fucking silly with it. And this one definitely isn't afraid to get silly with it, as we'll talk about.
The first place I saw this movie was the Sci-Fi Channel. So
Obviously.
you already know.
Obviously, it's
If
high
you know,
quality.
you know.
High quality already from out of the fucking gate. Probably the best thing you could ever see on the Sci-Fi Channel,
yeah.
if we're being honest.
Oh, there's other good ones.
Frankenfish, anyway.
Abominable.
Oh my god. Anyway, so ninja fight with a flashlight.
Cooper does his thing, and then he gets knocked out because some more guys popped up. And it's this douchebag guy named Ryan, who's some special ops captain who was giving Cooper a test to be
Yes.
part of his squad.
Yes.
So he's like, oh, you evaded capture for 22 hours. You did good. But,
That's insane, by the way.
yeah,
That's almost
22 fucking
a whole
hours
ass
running
day.
from somebody.
I'm gonna be honest. I would have just been like, bro, it's been 30 minutes. I'm hungry.
I'm done.
I gotta listen, man. I can only run so much. I'm not a small guy. Please, just fucking kill me. I don't care. Just let me go. But yeah, Ryan's like, yeah, you fucking whatever. Good job. And then what happens?
He
Jesse?
says some other shit, just like something about him needing to harden himself a little more and be he insults the dog somehow because he was able to escape the dog.
Yeah,
That was his whole thing.
I think it was something like he was basically telling him, what good are you to me if you're not a good soldier,
Yeah, if you can't do your job
If
right.
you can't do your job right, like if
So
you
he's
can't
like,
take
shoot this
orders or
dog.
whatever. Yeah.
And you pass. He's like, I'm not going to shoot the dog for no reason.
Yeah,
oh,
'cause
what?
that's
You're
fucked up.
coward? You won't kill a dog? He's like, no, I'll kill a dog. I'm just not going to kill it for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So then he fails Cooper on the test, and he's like, you failed, you're a bitch. Then Ryan shoots the dog himself because he's a fucking asshole.
And then Cooper gets reasonably upset.
Punches him.
I mean, let's be honest. If it were me or Justin, it probably would have been the same reaction.
Yeah.
I would have been very upset with him.
And then Ryan does some more little foreshadowing, says he holds a grudge, blah, blah, doesn't forget shit.
Yeah,
So that's why his whole shit starts taking place.
yeah.
And then after that, we cut to a little helicopter flying around being itself.
One thing I love about watching these movies in 4K, I think The Thing has the same problem. It was not really a problem, but like you can see like the bottom of the helicopter blades because the resolution's so high and it looks so clear, and it always kind of makes me chuckle when I notice it. I don't know. It's something movies are cool. I don't know what else to say. I just think it's funny when I notice shit like that.
So it's Cooper back with his original squad. They're gonna do some training mission.
And they all have different names.
You got Sarge,
You got
Cooper,
Sarge,
of course, Spooner, Joe, and Bruce.
Yeah, which is Bruce Campbell, a very obvious reference to a
And Terry.
Yeah, you can't forget about Terry. Which one's the one that cares about the football match?
Joe.
That's Joe, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe is all pissy because he has to go to this training exercise instead of watching the footy.
The footy. It's Germany versus England.
England versus
It's the
Germany.
most important game of his life.
And he's so fucking pissed.
He's very mad about it.
To the point where he annoys everybody about it.
One thing I want to say is I love the banter between the squad members in this movie.
Yeah.
They feel very like
Natural.
yeah, it's very natural. It's like in Aliens between the Marines in that movie. It's very natural, very like you can tell that they're like really,
tight.
really, really good with each other. And Neil Marshall said something along the lines of how, when we started the movie, nobody knew each other, but by the time we ended, he's like, I firmly believe that those men would have died for each other. Like that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to get out of it. And I think he succeeded with flying fucking colors, because that's one of the best aspects of this movie is the squad and how they interact with each other and all of that. It's very fun to watch. All these little like shots at each other and stuff, it's very playfully joking around.
Plus, it's funnier because it's banter from like a different cultural
it's
side.
It's banter from England, and it's they got some colorful things. It's very fun, very fun to hear.
Toffee nose twat.
Toffee nose twat, tosser. There's a number of different things.
Oh, you say tosser? That just reminds me of Arby and the Chief.
Let's not get into that right now, right?
That's great.
I haven't watched Arby and the Chief in years.
Except for the really depressing episodes that actually fuck with your head. That's the crazy part. A show with little action figures fucks with your head that badly.
It belonged on Adult Swim this whole time. We didn't know it.
So anyways, their squad's out for a training mission, and then that's all they know about it. Because there's other shit going on.
Yeah, because they're like shooting blanks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of them can get lucky.
Well, it happens.
So yeah, Sarge explains to them what they're going to be doing. Joe bitches about the soccer, and then they go off and do their shit. So Cooper, being the smarter one, he devises a little plan because he noticed some terrain while in the helicopter. So they set off on their little trail. But it turns out they're up against special forces for this training op, and guess who's leading that side? Fucking douchebag Ryan.
Oh, Captain Ryan.
So we get a glimpse that Ryan already knows what the hell they're doing. So he's already looking at them saying, tell base we know where they're going, so blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, then we get a little scene of them having,
Is this
resting for the night.
Around the campfire, yeah.
Which is a great scene.
It's a very good scene. We have, because it really shows, like, the love that they have for each other as squad mates, and like that they're able to be vulnerable with each other, and it's such like a stark contrast from Ryan, who's this very cold fucking like asshole, and then you have Sarge with Cooper's original squad, who's just like pouring his heart out about this guy that he knew, and it's very, very interesting to see that contrast.
It just makes me think of like the Modern Warfare squad.
Yeah.
Like Ghost and all them.
I wouldn't be surprised if this influenced that. Like I would not be surprised if this had some kind of influence on it, because I get what you're saying. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So yeah, they have their little time in their camp resting and all that. I forget who asks it, but one of them asks like what everyone's afraid of.
Yeah.
Cooper says spiders and women.
And spider women.
What did the others say?
I think Spoon said castration, and everybody was just no argument there.
No argument there.
Somebody else said penalty kick, and then watching a penalty kick with Joe was what somebody else said. And then I think Sarge said something along the lines of like, never being able to see my wife again, or the thought of not seeing my wife again scares the living shit out of me. And then, that's when...
he goes off into the great story of what actually bothers him.
Yeah.
So he tells him about years ago when his old squad mate named Eddie Oswald.
Eddie Oswald, that was his name.
Who was just like... I guess he seemed like... How do you describe this kind of person?
I think they said he was kind of like stocky.
Yeah.
Just a stocky dude that was kind of a joker, I think.
Just like that dude you tell... Don't jump off the bridge, and he'd be like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna do what I want."
Yeah,
even if I get hurt. Yeah,
definitely seems like that kind of guy. Yeah.
So he says Sarge tells him they got drunk one night before they went to do their little tour, and he's like, "Oh, I want to get some." Eddie's like, "I want to get something to commemorate this." So they get drunk and go to a tattoo parlor. Sarge says he gets Desert Rat on him.
Yeah.
And Eddie, being Eddie, as Sarge puts it, says he wants something a little more deeper, something with a little meaning. So Eddie tells him about how God will always have his soul, but his flesh is beyond redemption.
Yeah.
And the only one that can save it is the devil.
Yeah.
So he gets a big, fat, grinning devil tattooed on his ass, as Sarge put it. And next day they're doing their patrols like off some border.
I think in Iraq.
Afghanistan, he said.
Oh, it was Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Okay.
And poor Eddie steps on an anti-tank mine.
Which, as you know, those aren't a lot of fun. And
The way Sarge puts these like, cracking, flash, blinding sound, all this shit. And then they look, and Eddie's just gone.
yeah, it said it
All
was
except
like
for a big red fucking circle.
big red, like 100 meter radius circle or something, which is awful to think about.
Yeah, he's like, it really puts it in perspective when you have to scoop your mate up with a shovel.
And put him in a bin bag.
And then I like all the faces of everybody around us while they're telling us while he's telling the story.
A very well written scene. Like, and that's the thing is, I was gonna say, the fact that we know what type of person Eddie is a testament to how good the writing is in that scene.
Yeah.
Because you never see Eddie. You just go off of what Sarge says, and the fact that you can like picture the kind of guy that he is. I mean, Neil Marshall definitely knew how to write characters when it came to that.
Yep. So he continues with the story, saying the whole scooping him up and putting him in a bag. He's like, then the fucked up part is when you come across a piece that you recognize, an ear, a tooth, a toe. And he's like, but the thing that scared everyone the most when they came across a part that everyone recognized, it was the skin that he got his tattoo on in perfect shape. And so he's like, I guess you could say the devil did save Eddie's skin, just not all of it.
And then Spoon immediately goes into a joke that has no punchline. And why doesn't it have a punchline, Justin?
Because the cow was the punchline.
Hey.
A cow falls off the cliff above them and just scares the shit out of everyone. Fucking Terry panics and starts shooting at it with blank rounds like he's going to do something.
Yeah, classic Terry.
So then they all wonder why the cow died and all this shit and where the fuck it was coming from. And Cooper notices, it was like, well, this thing wasn't shot. It was scratched up like something attacked it.
Yeah, like it's got teeth marks or
Teeth marks, yeah.
Teeth marks too, yeah. And they're like, yeah, it's fucking this cow. Let's figure out what happened.
So they just, Sarge's like, well, two of y'all go watch. Rest of y'all sleep. We'll switch later. Good night. And then morning comes. They climb up the hill to see which direction the cow came from. I mean, it was pretty obvious, the sky.
Of course.
So they're like, well, he could have wandered for a while bleeding to death, so let's follow his trail of blood and see where it goes.
Yeah, the cookie crumbs, I think, as Sarge put it.
And then as they're walking, they see a flare shoot up. And they're like, what the fuck is this? No one's supposed to do this. So they go to where it came from, and there's just blood and guts everywhere on the floor.
There's an earlier scene where Ryan is doing some recon with some night vision goggles.
Oh, yeah, while they're in their camp, yeah, Ryan's looking around
he's,
shit.
He's looking around, and then a beast comes at him and scoops him, and blood gets on the rocks. And then, yeah, that's just a little bit of context for what's coming.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And then, yeah, they find Ryan's camp all fucked up, and they're wondering what happened. And they look at all the guns, check everything, and say, no, not a single shot was fired. It's like the reverse of Predator. Instead of everything fired in every direction,
Yeah.
nothing was fired.
Nothing was fired, yeah.
And then out pops Ryan. He survived.
And he's pretty beat up, though.
He's like, fucking help me. And then he
He's-
faints backwards.
Yeah.
Like he's totally out of character right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Understandably, though.
A man that has seen death at this point.
So Cooper makes it known that he knows who he is, but he doesn't know why he's there. And after closer inspection of all their gear, he's like, they got trank darts and nets and shit, and it's like they're not here for our training op. They're here for something else.
It's like they're on a goddamn safari.
Yep. So they pick up Ryan and try to figure out what's going on. They switch their blank round guns for real guns, and Sarge's like, be fucking careful. So after that, they start wandering more to try to find a way out.
And the whole time Ryan's talking about how like there was only supposed to be one of them. There was only supposed to be one of them. And he like keeps saying it. And
Like, what the
I think
fuck is he on about?
who was it? Terry or tries the radio, or was it Spoon that tries the radio?
No, it was Terry.
As Terry tries the radio and he realizes it's not working, one of the other ones finds the radio all beat up and shit. And yeah, he just keeps saying there was only supposed to be one of them. You don't get it. You know, they're going to tear you apart and all that. I watched them all die and all. He's crazy right now.
Insane in the brain.
Yes, exactly. Insane in the membrane. And so, yeah, they start. I think Sarge eventually is like, all right, well, we got to figure out what the fuck's going on. So let's look around for a bit. And then chaos ensues at some point around here. I don't remember the exact catalyst, but yeah, shit starts going down.
It starts to get closer to dark, as Spooner pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
So they start making for the closest road they can figure out where it is, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're going, you kind of start seeing the werewolf's perspective, and they're tracking them down and looking for them.
Yeah, I like those shots a lot too. It's very Evil Dead.
Yeah.
I love POV shots of creatures and shit. It's very cool. Like it a lot.
So then they stop for a little second. Sarge gives another little plan. He sends Bruce to go to be on point and go look forward while they all hang about. So he runs and finds him a little spot. He starts seeing shit running through. He tries to start shooting, but his gun won't work.
Yeah, it keeps jamming. Mm-hmm.
Checks it like twice, doesn't work. Then he just freaks out and runs.
He just throws it away and just starts running. Yeah.
And then the saddest death in the movie.
Yeah.
Bruce is just panicking, running, and then you hear him run into something. You think, oh, maybe the werewolf got him. Nah.
Yeah.
He ran straight into a tree.
Yeah, my first thought was that he just ran into like a claw or something, and I was like, oh fuck, poor guy. And then you see his tree, and I'm like, oh, that's even worse. Yeah, that's rough. Just an outstretched tree branch. You know how fast you got to be running?
Yeah, I was gonna say
for that shit to happen.
He wasn't running that fast. You gotta give props for commitment to that death,
bro. He really tried. He was like, man, I'm gonna die in a very rough way. I don't care what happens to me.
But then the werewolf does pop up, and you get the werewolf's hand is reflected in his eye, and it looks very fucking cool.
Very cool shot. Yeah. One of the best
how did
shots
they
in
get
the
that
movie.
so perfectly?
I don't know, man. It looks fucking awesome, though.
The
And
werewolf
then, yeah, he grabs him,
swipes and takes him away.
breaks the branch off inside of him too. Like,
Yep.
That's the fucked up part. And then just drags him away. Meanwhile, I think Sarge is looking for him at this point.
Yeah, he goes looking for him, trips over. Oh no, the wolf finds him, and Sarge shoots at him, rolls under a branch, and sees Bruce's body, and it's like, fuck, Bruce is dead.
Yeah.
And then he gets up again, and the wolf is like slice.
And he cuts his stomach open.
His guts fall out.
His fucking intestines fall out, and he just starts like freaking out. And then I think the werewolf's about to finish him off, and then Cooper.
Yeah, Cooper finds him and gets him away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's like, my insides are on the outside.
And then he's freaking out, and he's telling Cooper, run, you gotta run, Cooper. And Cooper's just like, oh, fucking no heroics, huh? You fucking idiot, you hypocrite, piece of shit. And then, he's like, my insides are on the outside. He's like, yeah, they can fit back in. He's like, no, they can't.
They're not gonna fit.
He's like, yeah, they will. Come on. And then he's able to get them, and they get up and start heading towards the road.
Run. So they're running and gunning. Nobody's having some fun.
No,
I was gonna
not.
say funnin', but that would have been stupid.
It would have worked.
It
I
would've
would have
worked.
allowed it.
Okay. So we get that. They're all shooting. Good little circle squad tactics, everyone watching everyone, and they run. And then there's headlights in the distance.
Yeah, and also that's a really cool chase scene too. It's very chaotic and frenetic, and you don't know
also
if it,
very coordinated at the same time.
yeah, and you don't know who's gonna make it and who's not. It's very tense, very cool. It also looks extra gritty because this film was shot on Super 16 millimeter, which is kind of gives it this. It adds to the B movie feel, but it also makes it look like real grainy, like a war film. And that's another thing that I really like about it is that everything that went into the thought of this movie was to make it a war movie with werewolves, and I think that's really cool. I don't think that's how Neil Marshall described it. I think he did it the opposite way, but I'll get to that when we get to that. But anyway, so they see the headlights.
And forget who initially makes the run to the car. One of them. So they run to the road and they trip and fall and land in the road, and the truck stops right over him.
Yeah, almost runs over, I think, Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's this woman that they don't know who the hell it is. They're just glad to see somebody.
Yeah.
So they all pile in the truck. She's just like, get in, get in.
Yeah, she's freaking out. And the werewolves attack the truck, if I remember. It's like a little Jeep.
Yeah, they jump on top of it. He sticks his arm through it and tries to grab him.
And then one of them, I think, stabs him with a knife.
Yeah, he stabs it in the arm and drags
And
it
then
down.
it tries to pull its hand up, but it can't because of the knife. I love that. It's so like fucking cartoony.
The woman's panicking because she got the car stuck. when she hit the brakes really hard.
Yeah.
And then Cooper's like, calm the fuck down, just put it in reverse, and then go forward.
It reminds me of an old Counter-Strike meme where everybody's like trying to run from a terrorist or something. I don't remember the exact context of it, but it's the door stuck meme because they're trying to like get away from this room. I think that somebody threw a grenade in, and then like he can't open the door for whatever reason, and the dude at the front's just screaming, door stuck, and he's just like freaking out. It's one of my, it's a great little stupid video. Oh, it makes me laugh every time
It's
I
like
think
when
about
you're
it.
standing next to your teammate in Halo and they get stuck with a plasma grenade.
No.
Run the other direction, not towards me. Or Gears with the torque ball.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. I remember one time I was playing with your brother, and he was Carmine. I don't remember which one, but I was spectating him because I had gotten killed. And Carmine was like being all cocky and shit. He gets hit with the torque, but he's like, "Oh fuck!" And then it just blows up and kills him. I love the little banter in that game too. But yeah, so eventually they're able to get away. And where do they go?
They go to a farmhouse that the woman, Megan, knows about.
Megan.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we'll see.
If you don't get that reference, you're too young right now.
Yeah, a little bit. Or
You probably
or,
shouldn't be
know.
listening to us talk.
Yeah, no shit.
But anyways, Megan gets them to this farmhouse that she knew about conveniently because it's the only one aside from hers, air quotes, from
Yes.
50 miles.
Yeah.
So they get there. Cooper goes in, clears the house. He hears some noises. He thinks it's a werewolf because it's scratching and growling a little. But no, it's just a dog.
Yeah, a little doggy, cute
Sheepdog.
cute little black and white doggy.
Named Sam.
Is it? I
Yeah.
didn't know that. All right, I missed that. I guess.
They said his name like 5 times.
Listen, buddy. I was like, I don't know, man.
But that's
was
also
vibing.
kind of one of the. I mean, Megan says she knows them because they're family friends, but automatically saying the dog's name kind of makes it seem weird that
Yeah,
she
there's
knows.
there's a lot of things that sow like the seeds of.
Oh, we forgot the stupid glance that Megan
shit.
and Ryan give each other in the van in the car when they first meet up.
Yeah, it's like they know each other. There's a little thing, little bit of a intrigue going on here. A lot of stuff that just doesn't makes things kind of. It seems like there's more to it, and that's part of the little mystery
Yep.
in the movie.
I mean, we already know there's something weird going on because of Ryan being there and what they had as gear.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it's just Sam in the house, the dog. So Cooper's like, it's clear, everyone come in. So they all go in, start talking, and like Joe's like, fuck this, I'm hungry. I'm gonna eat what they were cooking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 99% sure they just ate people.
Yeah, I think that was I'm pretty sure that was something that was mentioned in the commentary.
Because I know it's another Starship Trooper thing. Like, I've seen parts of this movie differently than I remember seeing them before. Like, I swear somewhere I have seen they look in the soup and there's a finger or something that reveals that it's a person that they ate.
It might be like a scene added for TV because I've talked about Reanimator, how it's got like, or a lot of horror movies have like differences in the TV version to make up for the gore that they have to remove. I know sci-fi has always been kind of lenient on the gore thing, but I don't know. Maybe they added a couple scenes here and there just for context. Because John Carpenter did it with the first Halloween. They did it with Reanimator. So I wouldn't be surprised if you just saw it on TV and there was just a little added extra scene.
Yeah.
So,
Anyways, aside from that, they chill for a bit.
but that is the implication. I have to say before we continue. That is the implication.
Yeah.
So
I mean, what else would they be eating?
I don't know, porridge. That'd be kind of funny if it was fucking porridge or something.
Well, they make that joke later.
I know. I know they do.
But yeah, so they all settle in because it's gonna be a long fucking night.
Oh yeah, it is.
They're not really concerned about who Megan is right now. They're just glad they got to somewhere safe.
And they're trying to like figure out their next move and all that.
Yeah.
And
Do they start coming in for another attack right away?
I don't remember. I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember. All I know is, I mean, the gist of it is that it's a series of them just kind of like trying to outsmart each other. The dog soldiers, the titular dog soldiers, keep trying to outsmart the real soldiers. And it's just kind of a back and forth between that. And there's a lot of funny scenes with preparation and shit that go on throughout this. You get more info about why Ryan was there and all this other stuff. So when we talk about that, it's probably not going to be in order, but we'll just talk about what we remember, because everything in the house is kind of the house is where the rest of the movie takes place.
Yep. Anyway, they patch up Sarge a little more. They start having more conversation on what to do. She explains that there's no phone here. There's no other place for like 50 miles because it's her house.
Yes.
And I think there's another glance between her and Ryan, and she just looks really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, I guess our best bet is just to leave now. So she's like, okay, let's go. So Cooper and Spoon go to check the car
Oh yeah.
to get it
it's
ready.
all fucked up, right?
And they go out there. The fucking thing is just wrecked. Like, these werewolves did the most quietest job of destroying this car that they could.
It's like me fucking up some pancakes at Cracker Barrel. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was like.
It's like they carefully
just a
went in
mess.
there like they were opening up a can of tuna or something, just tore the thing apart.
And they did it all quietly. That's the most impressive part, is you didn't hear any of this in the house.
And then they're just like, what the fuck?
And then I think
they see that all the wolves are right there around the car.
And Cooper's like, don't stare back. And Spoon's like, it's really fucking hard not to.
It's like, you see something like that, you're going to stare at it.
Yeah, it's really hard to not. It's fucking horrifying.
So they run back inside, and the car ends up exploding. And Megan's like, that was my car.
Yeah.
It's like, well, not anymore.
Nope, not anymore.
So they start doing some more prep work in the house, trying to get it all.
This is also the point where they start attacking. They start coming after him in the house.
Oh yeah, they attack them first.
And the dogs pull at that at the bandage, or the dog pulls at the bandage for Sarge, and he's like starts freaking out because his guts are being held in together, and Ryan is starting to get mad. He
Shoot
just
the
hates
fucking
dogs,
dog.
bro. He just really hates dogs. Maybe it's like Cruella, where the dogs killed his mom or something, and that's why he hates dogs so much. I'm not joking about that either.
I know.
That actually happened in the Cruella movie.
I watched Elvis's review of that movie.
That's so insane to me that they had to give this fucking cold-hearted cunt a goddamn empathetic backstory where they make her a fucking victim of Dalmatian violence. Very, very funny that happens. Maybe that's what happened to Ryan. That's, who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if there was something like that. But he just hates dogs, and he tries to kill the dog, and then I think Terry throws up on him.
Terry throws up on Ryan.
Some
Like,
big old
you
chunks.
incompetent fool.
Big old chunks. And then he goes to the bathroom to wash up. And then Cooper's like, well, I got to talk to you some more, Ryan.
It's not like I'm going anywhere.
And then he goes upstairs and jacks off or whatever. And while everybody tries to figure out what's going on. I think at some point Cooper introduces everybody to Megan. And then another point, they be boarding stuff up. And then while that's going on, I think Megan and Cooper try to seal up Sarge's stomach
With super glue.
which is another great scene, I might add.
Because Cooper puts in the story that they invented super glue to patch up soldiers in Vietnam.
Yeah, there's that, and then just Sarge's acting is great
Because he's drunk.
because he's drunk and he's like, "This is my best mate, and I love you, Ryan. I love you, Cooper. I really do. I love you like I love my best mate. Like, it's such a good fucking scene." And then
Like,
my
should
favorite.
he really be drinking whiskey with painkillers?
My favorite part of this is when it starts to really hurt and Sarge is like trying to fight Cooper and he's like, punch me. He's like, knock me out. So then Cooper punches him once and he's like, you fucking pussy. That's it. And then he punches him again and he just gets knocked out cold.
Hit me.
It's one of the best fucking scenes in the movie. I love it so much. And then they finish up. They tie him up. They sew him up. They grow him up. You know what I'm saying? So they do all that. And then
Sarge goes to sleep.
And Sarge goes to sleep for a little bit. And then at some point,
We get some of Megan's little backstory. She's a zoologist, wanted to get closer to nature.
yeah.
And oh boy, did she.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then she goes through all that. And then the wolves start attacking again at some point.
Get some great fight scenes again.
Terry gets got at some point, I think. And
It's at the end of that first little scrimmage.
yeah, and they almost get to Sarge, but then Cooper uses a flash on a camera to distract the wolves,
Take pictures.
and then they shoot the wolves out of the house, and then they're safe for a little bit, and then Ryan's like, "Oh yeah, Terry's dead. Nothing you can do about it. Whatever."
Oh, we forgot to mention the funny part of what Spoon did.
What did Spoon did?
The hammer.
Oh yeah, one of the better scenes when they're trying to board stuff up is the wolves are trying to come in and
He's sticking his hand through the mail slot in the door.
And he's just like, first he's like casually like nailing stuff, and then he sees the thing come through the door, and it's just like a real quick like on the hand. It's such a funny. That's like such a fun little slapstick scene.
It sticks its nose through the door window at some point too. He just bashing it with a pot.
Keeps hitting it with the pot, yeah. And
they
then,
throw hot water on its face.
They throw hot
too.
water on its face, yeah. And Terry gets got, and then we get more about Ryan, and
he's like dogs, more like pussies.
Yeah.
And he sounded Russian at that point for some reason. I don't know.
weird.
I guess he broke his accent or something.
Maybe. But then at some point Cooper starts to suspect that Ryan is a werewolf. Because
he's like, how you were all on death's door a minute ago, and now you're perfectly fine.
Yeah, and he's like, "Let me see those wounds,
Don't you fucking touch me."
And then he looks, and they're healing up pretty well. And then Cooper's
like, time up.
Cooper's like, "You're a little bitch. I'm gonna tie you up." So he
some
ties
answers,
him up.
and he's like, "Megan, what would you do?" "I'd torture him." "Yeah, I'd torture him too."
Yeah, it's kind of leans into her true nature there still, or a little bit too. But
then fucking Ryan spills the beans of why they were there,
mm-hmm.
looking for them and blah blah, and how I remembered you, Cooper, and your squad's expendable.
Yeah,
that pisses off
Yeah,
Sarge.
because they were trying to use Cooper's squad as like bait, right?
Yeah.
For the werewolves to so they could do the special ops thing, just like Alien. So that's what they were going for. And then so we get that, and then at some point they try to get a vehicle from the.
Yeah, Megan mentions that the family keeps an old Land Rover in the barn.
Yes.
So they're like, okay, well, if we send one person out the other window and somebody out the other one can get the car while the other's distraction them. So they're like, okay, we'll need something fast and loud. And everyone just slowly turns their head and looks at Spooner. He's not paying attention. He's just sitting there chewing, I guess, the same piece of gum the entire movie.
He's a very loud man. He's just like me for real. So then he runs out and distracts the wolves.
While Joe goes in, hotwires the car. He runs into the barn and gets it. He sees them munching on Terry. He rips its head off and throws it at him.
Yeah, and that's a gross ass scene where it bites into his neck and just fucking crunches it. And throws Terry's head into like a bin or something, and
it lands on the tire that's on the hood of the car.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Yeah, and then the head falls into the tire. And then
Joe backs out of the barn. He pulls up to the front door to wait for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see like steam coming behind him, and he's like, "Oh shit, you're behind me, aren't you?"
Yeah, and then he tries his best.
He's like, "I'm gonna have you."
And then the wolf gives him the old right there, Fred, and kills him. and then that's it. I think Cooper.
They all prep to go out and open the door, and then
it's like a river of blood.
There's a wolf on him.
It's just a river of blood comes out of the car. It's fucking crazy. And then that didn't work. So then they go inside and plan again, and more shit happens. With I think at some point we get the reveal that Ryan
and Megan knew each other.
They knew each other, and it's because Ryan came around before.
The first time they were there looking at them.
Yeah. Trying to figure out what was going on with all them werewolves. And then Ryan is revealed to be a werewolf himself at some point. And,
first there's that good little discussion when Cooper tells Megan to tell them what they're dealing with. And she's like, "Oh, lycanthropes," and he's like, "Oh, that's werewolves to us." He's like, "You can't be fucking serious, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah. And
then there's like some still little slight disbelief in everybody, and then I wish I could remember her exact lines, but she says something like really good about how there used to be a line between reality and myth, and now you don't know where that line is.
Yeah, she also mentions that, like, yeah, the werewolves are real, but, like, what else could be
you
real?
know what lives in the shadows now, so
Yeah.
if they're real, what else is that real?
Yeah, there we go.
I love that part.
That's a good line. It's a nice little setup, too, for something that never happened, but that's besides the point. We'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah, and then Ryan turns into a werewolf at some point.
Yep.
And he gets a little transformation where he's under the table and then he just pops up as the werewolf. And then who puts the sword through him? Cooper puts the sword through him, and then he fucks off.
He jumps out a window.
Yeah, and then they start to devise a plan where it's like, well, where would the werewolves be hiding, so we can just blow them all up or whatever.
Yep.
And Megan's like,
Cooper wants to even the score. He starts making soccer references because Joe likes soccer.
yeah, and he's real torn up about it.
And he's like, we're not going to win, but I at least want to even the score.
Yeah. And then Megan's like, well, they might be in the barn because that's warm or whatever.
They like to be warm.
And then so then they devise a plan to blow up the fucking barn or whatever it is.
Yep. And as they're prepping that, all we got left at this point is Sarge, Megan, Cooper,
And
and Spooner. That's
Yeah.
all that's left right now.
Yeah.
And Spooner asks, well, what are we going to do about Sarge? He's like, what do you mean? Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
He's going to turn just like Ryan did.
Because Sarge got
He's
injured.
like, no,
Yeah.
Sarge is with us. We're going to do whatever we can to help him. He's like, yeah. I just wanted to make sure he got his watch back.
Very noble. Yeah. That's another great character scene. Yeah. The movie's full of stuff like that. I love it. I just love how tight the squad feels. It's very, very good. Very good movie.
So they cut the gas line for the car that was at the front door. Cooper drives it to the barn, and they set the trail on fire, and it blows up. And then they're all not celebrating because they don't hear any cries or screams or whatever. And they're like, and then Megan turns to Cooper, and you think you're gonna get the typical guy gets girl in horror movie scene.
It's a nice subversion.
She kind of does lean in almost, but then goes to the side of his head and whispers, "I'm sorry."
Megan.
It's just like, and Cooper figures it out. He's like, there were no werewolves in the barn when it blew up. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, and then she's like, I hate being a part of this fucked up family.
Yeah, you get the reveal that, Megan, you're not in the pictures because you took the
'Cause you
pictures of
took
the family.
picture. And then Cooper's like, oh, women. And then she's like,
All the same.
and then she's like, trust in a woman will get you nowhere, but I'm the real thing.
No,
you
being
know?
nice to a woman will get you nowhere.
But being nice to me will get
We're
you
all
killed.
bitches, but I'm the real
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it's a very, very defiant fucking final line. Because then she shows her yellow eyes and then gets fucking popped in the
Well,
head.
it's like, it's just that time of the month.
Yeah, she makes a little joke about that, and then she gets popped right between the eyes and fucking dies. And
Someone had to put her out of her misery.
it's crazy that she was able to hide it for that long. I guess you can control it.
Well, obviously, the werewolves show some semblance of control because they're
Yeah.
planning all that.
Yeah, these werewolves, obviously, yeah. That
And
makes
then when
sense.
Ryan and Cooper fight at the end, Ryan stops like he's listening to what he's saying and punching him like he's taking this fight personally. So
Yeah, that is true. So yeah, she gets murdered.
right in front of her little werewolf family, they kind of jump back at the wrong time.
They don't even, and they
I
also
guess it was kind of hard to see in the costumes.
yeah, it was. We'll get into that too. But so then she's dead. Spoon stays downstairs to fight.
Well, no, they try to run upstairs and they
Oh,
stick
that's
their
right, that's
arms
right,
through the
that's
railing
right.
and cut Spoon off before he can go.
Yeah, because
follow the others.
Sarge and Cooper go up there and fortify the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
and then Spoon stays downstairs and gets into a fist fight with some other guys, and it's this really violent and hectic fight between Spoon.
Because he just knows it's over right there, but he's giving it his all.
Yeah, there's that part where he's stabbing him with like the fucking fork or something,
Yeah, just blood
and
everywhere.
blood's going everywhere, and then he gets that pan and he starts going off. And then he does like a war cry.
The
but
other
then
one just smacks it
out of his hand, picks him up, and then we get an iconic Spoon line where he says, "I hope I give you the shits, you wimp." And then he spits his gum out at him, and then that's that. And then the dog just watches as they eat him, and then one of the wolves comes up to the dog, and the dog kind of gets scared. And then not Ryan, but Cooper and Sarge are upstairs fortifying in the bathroom. I think Sarge makes a makeshift flamethrower while Cooper's trying to break through the wall to get into the bedroom.
I love the little spray can flamethrower because the wolf breaks the door and it looks just like a little puppet they're sticking in there through the door.
and then I forget who takes the faucet and jams it in the head and the blood starts coming out of the top
Cooper
of the faucet.
did that.
Like fucking Dead Rising. It's so great. But they eventually make it to the next room, right?
Yep.
And then what happens after that? They go into the wardrobe?
They hide in the closet.
In the
and
closet,
they're like,
yes.
it fucking stinks in here. They look and there's a body. And Sarge's like, oh, give me your gun. He's like, put your head up, open your mouth, cover your ears,
Mind
and watch your
ears,
toes.
Yeah. And then just and then he shoots.
He shoots the floor, all like fucking that scene in Underworld where she shoots the ground and falls through.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, they get downstairs, and then they're in the kitchen. And they're like, "Where the fuck is Spoon?" Sarge finds his watch on the ground. He's like, "There is no spoon, damn it!"
Which is a very direct reference to the Matrix, which Justin doesn't like because he doesn't like movies. But
I
that's
like the
besides
first
point.
Matrix. I don't like the other two.
Well, that changed.
And anything after.
You always said you didn't like the first Matrix. You said you didn't like any of
I've
them.
always said the first one was fine. Nothing amazing.
I'm gonna kill
I
this
just
man.
hate the others.
I'm gonna kill this man. all right?
Especially the new one.
I'm gonna kill this man. I'm gonna murder him in front of his family. But that's besides the point. so yeah, there is no spoon is a very direct reference to the Matrix. And then what happens after that? They make their final plans, basically.
Yep. They find that there's a little cellar down there. So Sarge is like, Cooper, get the fuck in there.
And Cooper's like, no, I don't want to leave you.
He calls the dog in there. He's like, oh no, you're getting down here too. He's like, nah, fuck you. I'm about to turn. You got to survive. And he hands him the film from the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, so you can show them that this really happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he throws Cooper down there and he's like, okay, final sacrifice time. So he cuts the gas line of the stove to try to set it off.
And then he pulls out a picture of his wife?
Yeah, looks at the picture of his wife.
I thought it was his
time.
son the first time I watched it. Then I realized, I'm like, oh, it's probably his wife. It's probably his wife, yeah. That's weird. And then, yeah, he cuts the pipe, or the line, sorry.
He gets his lighter out and all the werewolves pile in the room. And I don't know why they do this, but when they walk in, they all put one arm up. Like they're saying hi to him or something.
Oh, they're grabbing the roof.
It's
they're
like
grabbing
they're feeling the ceiling.
The ceiling,
so
to figure out where they are. So they can hit their marks because they can't see. It's like the Deadites. They just cannot see out of those fucking werewolf masks. But yeah, they're trying to feel around, and then he starts to turn. He gets his yellow eyes, and then he turns on the stove.
Well, he has the lighter, but they smack it
They
out
smack
of
it out of his hand. Yeah,
so
that's
he
right.
Just turns on the pilot light and boom.
And the whole thing explodes, and it looks really fucking cool because guess what? It's not CGI anyway.
It looks like a miniature.
I think it was a miniature because they blow it up, and that's it. It's done.
Boom.
It's done. Cooper's on the bottom. He'd be like, damn, that really happened. And then what happens after that, Justin?
Ryan's somehow down there with him, so they have one more little fight. And Cooper's like, oh, Ryan, have you tried licking your balls yet? Ryan punches him. He's like, oh, wait, you never had. And he punches him again. Mm-hmm. And then Ryan still has the sword in him this entire time from earlier.
Yeah.
And then the scene that every time I see it hurts my mouth, visually and from the sound. Ryan has Cooper pushed up against the wall, and the werewolves are fucking tall as shit.
They are
so
very tall.
The sword is in Ryan's waist, and that's like level to Cooper's mouth. So as he's trying to go in closer to him, the sword gets in between his teeth, and you hear it scraping as it's going into his mouth, and it just hurts.
Yeah, it's
to look at. I hate that.
It's very rough.
Yeah, but then the dog just saves Cooper, and they start to fight again.
Hey, it's that dog.
It's like the scene from Goosebumps from the Werewolf of Fever Swamp. The dog is the hero in that one too.
Of course, dogs are good boys.
Because the dog is a soldier.
And then Cooper gets the plot device from the beginning of the movie.
The silver knife, the only piece of silver in there.
And then he stabs him. Stabs Ryan in the fucking chest or whatever.
And then somehow, just because the knife is in him, the gunshot works.
Yeah, it blows his brains out, yeah.
Well, I guess if it's like the logic that the silver is just straight up poison,
The
so
silver,
it weakens their body.
weakens him, yeah. And then after that, Ryan dies and Cooper Much like Thanos.
If you didn't think it was over, it is now. Boom.
Thanos watches, much like Thanos, he watches the sunrise over a grateful universe, and then we get the ending where we see all the film or all the pictures that was on the film, and then a newspaper article where it's implying that Cooper is crazy by saying that werewolves ate his squad mates. And then in big letters is the score for the football game where England won and beat Germany 5-1. It's a great little ending. It's a fun little ending. Great movie. Awesome movie. It's fantastic.
Yep.
Anyway, so you know what we think about it, obviously. But let's see what other people think about it. So on Rotten Tomatoes, our favorite website to make fun of sometimes, it had an approval rating of 80% based on 41 reviews. Average rating of 7.1 out of 10, which is fair, I think. I'd rate it as more like a 9.
I'd give it an 8.
I'd give it more like a 9, but yeah. The site's consensus reads, frightening, funny, and packed with action, Dog Soldiers is well worth checking out for genre fans, and marks writer-director Neil Marshall as a talent to keep an eye on. Now, you might ask yourself, what else has Neil Marshall made? Well, he made The Descent, the first one, anyway. I don't think he was involved with the second one. This movie did make a profit, too, by the way. It was only released in the UK, and it was on a budget of £2.3 million, and it made $5 million, which is a pretty decent return for a little horror film. But yeah, so Neil Marshall ended up directing The Descent. He did Doomsday, and then he made the more recent Hellboy reboot. That was him, and he is not proud of it at all, which I'll get into in a moment whenever I pull up my little
So I'm
notes.
glad, because comic accuracy aside, that movie was not good.
Yeah, he did not have a good time working on that. But anyway, yeah. So I like this film a lot. I'm glad that a lot of other people like it. It's kind of gained like a cult status. But now we get to go into all the production stuff. So this movie took about 6 years to make. The idea was conceived in 1995 when Marshall was working on a movie called Killing Time, and he met this producer there, and they devised this idea. But it took about 6 years for them to get all the funding and stuff, and then they filmed it in 2001, I believe. So Neil Marshall said he shot most of the film in order. So the tent scene was like the first thing that they shot, and the reason he shot the house stuff in order was because they destroyed it. Like, they literally just destroyed it as they went along. And the house was built on 2 separate sets. There was a set for the upstairs and a set for the downstairs. They were just right next to each other. So that's how that worked. And so they would just block it accordingly. And Neil Marshall also said in the commentary that he didn't like the font for the title card. I forgot about that. So the reason it took so long for funding to get for the film to get funding was because horror films at the time, especially a fucking werewolf movie, they didn't have their resurgence yet, you know. So a lot of production companies were like, why would we fucking make a horror movie? Like, we're not going to do this. It's too risky, right?
Let alone a werewolf one.
Yeah, and again, you know, that's a problem that I talk about a lot on here, is that companies only care about money. So even if you have a good director with a good script and a good idea, it can kind of get thrown to the wayside because these guys just care about money. And that's a shame, because there's a chance that Dog Soldiers would have never gotten made in this world. And that's kind of depressing because this movie's fantastic. So they shot the movie mainly in Luxembourg, which I don't know where that is. I forgot to write where it is. I'm from America. Don't get mad at me. So Jason Statham was initially cast as Cooper, believe it or not.
I can see that.
Which I can see that. Yeah, I could like actually see that. But here's the funny part: he dropped out to film John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars. Why the fuck would you drop out of this movie to go? Like, I get it, John Carpenter. I love John Carpenter, but Ghosts of Mars is not a good movie. It is a fucking bad movie. It was definitely John Carpenter in his I don't really give a shit anymore era. And wow, just fucking going from this great little indie genre film to fucking Ghosts of Mars. Like, it hurt me when I read it, like, physically, or when I heard it in the commentary. It physically hurt. That is depressing. So Neil Marshall also wanted the squatties in the film to be portrayed as authentically as possible. Specifically, he wanted to get the dark sense of humor down, because he was talking about how a lot of people in a profession like war, or like even like police officers, doctors, autopsy guys, all that stuff, you have to have a dark sense of humor, or else it drives you fucking crazy. And I think he succeeded pretty well, because there is a dark sense of humor because you make jokes. It's how you cope. So there's something else that Neil Marshall talked about in the commentary. On Wikipedia, it says that the working title of the film was The Last Stand, and Neil Marshall's like, that's not true. It was always going to be called Dog Soldiers, and there was a brief period of time where a producer wanted to call it Night of the Werewolves, and the producer ended up being persuaded by somebody else, I don't remember who, to keep the original title of Dog Soldiers. And Night of the Werewolves is kind of a shit title, so I'm glad. Dog Soldiers kind of adds to the uniqueness of the film, I think, and that's why I'm glad that it's the name of it. And
Dogs of War has always been a phrase.
Yeah, so it works very well that it's Dog Soldiers. So also Neil Marshall pointed out that, like, with the improved clarity of watching this in 4K, you can see that the little badge that they have on their arms that the squatty has is a wolf's head with a dagger going through.
Yeah, I noticed that in the scene with Bruce when he's at the log.
Yeah, so it's just a nice little touch. He's like, I just wanted to. He's like, even if nobody noticed it, he's like, that was for me. And so another thing is that the 4K that I have of this, it was done by Shout Factory, but I have a UK import from Second Sight Films, which is a distributor in the UK, and it's this great, like, hard case, like, Arrow style package. Comes with a little digipack that has the Blu-ray and the 4K. 4K is region free, so that's no problem, and my Blu-ray player can play region B discs, so that's great. It also comes with a bunch of art cards, jam-packed with fucking special features, which was really fun to go through for this. And it also comes with a fucking thick-ass booklet full of essays. Like, there's 4 different essays examining, like, what the film means as in the context of a war film, as a werewolf film. There's a great essay about the deconstruction of masculinity that's presented in the film, much like I was talking to Justin, much like in Predator, how, these macho army guys were no match for this fucking alien, so they literally had to strip everything back and resort to their primal nature to beat it, and it was just Arnie that could do it, and they had to make all these traps, all these very primitive traps and shit to stop it. And in this movie, I kind of mentioned it earlier, where you have the contrast between how Ryan leads his squad. He's very cold, he's very toxic, he's very calculated. Like, he's like the idea of a high-ranking
perfect
soldier. Like, if you've seen Full Metal Jacket, like what Gunny was trying to create on Paris Island with the Marines. And then you have Sarge's squad, who's, they're all palling around with each other. They can be open and vulnerable with each other. They can say, I love you to each other, and there's nothing gay about it or weird about it. Like, they're able to just be themselves without this air of what you have to be a man or a soldier. Yeah. And that's a very interesting essay to read. Whether or not that was Neil Marshall's intent is a whole nother thing, but that's what I love about art, is that you can get whatever you want out of it. That's why I love talking about this shit, because you can just get anything out of it.
See, that's I really like me. Like, I like the artistic side of things, sure, but I'm basic. I like the presentation of the movie, and that's it. Like, the night before, Josh was texting me about, oh, do you like Lovecraftian horror? He's like, yeah, I like the monsters. They're big. They're creepy looking. He's like, and then he goes into this whole explanation. Oh, you got the atmosphere, the blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't care. Yeah. Like, that's cool and all. That's fine.
Yeah.
I just like the monster. And I want to see that.
And that's why I think this movie works so well, is because you can read into it and get deeper meaning out of it, but it also just works really fucking well as a genre film, as a horror movie, as a werewolf movie. It's just so well rounded in that regard. And but
oh shit, I forgot to mention a really good scene.
Oh yeah,
after their second fight with the wolves, and everyone's all like tired and beaten and shit. And Megan plays the piano, and it's all really somber and shit.
Yeah.
And everyone's faces are just like, man, we're fucked. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna get out of this? And yeah, it was a good scene.
Yeah, it's that harrowing like moment of how are we going to get out of this, right? And
Who's gonna make it? Who's not?
and then they're coming to terms with their own mortality and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, those essays are super interesting to read, super cool. And then it's got a bunch of behind the scenes photos in this booklet too. It's very cool. It was a little pricey because it was an import, but I mean, shit, for what you get for it, I think it's well worth the money. I would highly recommend if you want to check this movie out.
If Amazon's dumbasses would deliver to my house, I would have it already, but no.
See, well, there we go. I bought it from the site directly. So,
oh, you can get it from a site?
yeah, you can get it from secondsightfilms.uk, I believe. So if you're a physical media enthusiast like my stupid ass and you like to waste money on it, I highly recommend buying this set because I think it's fantastic. They also have The Witch. That's out like that. Another great horror movie that I like a bunch. It's a real slow burn. We'll probably talk about it one day. But you know, it's I would recommend it. I think if you like werewolf movies, if you like genre films, or if this is already one of your favorite movies, I would highly recommend checking that out. It's a very good set. Way better than the Shout release. It has all the same special features as the Shout release, but you get all the extra little like swag and stuff that comes with it, like all the booklet and the art cards and shit. Also, the artwork on it is fucking fantastic. I love it. That's one of my favorite things about film is the artwork that comes with it. And yeah, they outdid themselves with it. So I would highly recommend that. Yes, check it out. We're not sponsored. I don't know if we're ever going to be sponsored, but we're definitely not right now. My point in talking about that was that this movie had a rocky, I guess, life on physical media. So according to Neil Marshall, the original film elements were lost for a long time. He didn't know what happened to them. And more recently, they were finally able to track them down and get it sourced and scanned in 4K, and it looks great on on my OLED TV. It looks fantastic. There's a lot of great depth, and the colors pop. It looks fantastic. The blood is the right color, great. Neil Marshall was talking in the commentary about how happy he is that the film is being preserved because independent films run a risk of being lost to time because of rights issues and stuff like that. Yep. He also mentioned that Eddie Oswald, or the name, is a recurring theme in Marshall's films. Apparently, that name is in The Descent. It's in Doomsday. I think it's the name of like the corporation in Doomsday. And then I don't know if it's in Hellboy, but he made like some fantasy film. It's in that too. And yeah, I already talked about the film was shot on 60mm. And the reason they did that was not just for the aesthetics, but also they wanted to save money for the practical effects because he wanted to really get the werewolves right. He was talking about how, he watched American Werewolf in Paris and he was like, the werewolf is CGI. And, CGI in 2001 was a little better. He's like, but I wanted it to kind of stand the test of time, and I'm so fucking glad that he decided to go with practical effects.
Because the werewolf in Paris just looked like a red blob in some of the scenes, if I remember it right.
I can't wait to talk about that one.
They have a couple scenes of practical werewolf in that movie, but nothing major, and it's just bad.
It's probably like Alien 3, where it's just mainly the close-ups.
I'd say it's kind of on the level of bad as the movie Cursed. If you've seen that one.
I think I've heard of it.
It has what's his name? I think Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh, really?
And
that's funny.
Jesse Eisenberg and Christina Ricci.
That sounds interesting. Maybe I'll add it to the list. So
it's funny, at least. It's a funny movie.
Was it intentionally funny?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not meant to be taken seriously.
Okay, good. As long as it knows what it is.
It's like more lighthearted Ginger Snaps.
Okay. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Which is another great werewolf movie.
Yeah. Is that one on our list? I don't know if that one's on our list.
I've mentioned it. I know that.
Okay.
I don't know if it's on the list.
But
there's like 3 or 4 of those movies.
Okay, well, never mind. That's a franchise. Anyway, so Neil Marshall also talked about how the cast often collaborated with each other and swapped lines with each other if they felt that like the line fit their character better, and it was a very collaborative effort, which that seems to make the best movies, especially when it comes to horror. So Neil Marshall describes the movie as a soldier movie with werewolves, not the other way around. So I did get it right. It's a war movie with werewolves. That is not the other way around. As we kind of mentioned before, there's a bunch of references to nursery rhymes, specifically Goldilocks, and then the Big Bad Wolf. Like the porridge, they make that joke about that. And then, there's a Little Red Riding Hood reference whenever they find Ryan's camp. So, there's a bunch of little stuff like that. Neil Marshall also said he hated working with the dog because it was the worst trained actor dog. He said it would keep running off a set, and he said all the scenes you see of the dog in the movie are just us getting lucky, like every single one. And the scene where the werewolf head is coming up on the dog, that was real. The dog just got scared and ran off, and they just cut it before it ran off. But they did not plan that at all. That was just like an effects guy fucking with the dog. So, as Justin called out earlier, the pork that the soldiers eat at the beginning it's implied that it's actually people. And
it's even more implied when Cooper's in the basement and the bodies are hanging in there.
Yeah, like on meat hooks and shit. Yeah. So. About the dog grabbing Sarge's bandages. It was originally supposed to grab his intestines, but Marshall found that most people thought that the bandage was the intestines already, and
That's what I thought.
and that the dog pulling on the bandage was cringeworthy enough. He also didn't want Sarge's injury to be too irreparable. So that's all.
I mean,
very
his
fair.
guts are hanging out. There's not much worse you can get.
Yeah, but super glue. Fuck it. So here's another thing that kind of fucked with me. Simon Pegg was supposed to play Spoon. Neil Marshall offered him the role and everything because he knew him. I don't remember how well he knew him or how he knew him, but he knew Simon Pegg well enough to be like, hey, I think you'd be perfect for Spoon. Do you want to play that role? And I can 100% see Simon Pegg in that role. But
can you imagine if we got the version of Jason Statham with Simon Pegg in this
Pegg,
movie?
That would be so fucking crazy.
It still would have been great.
Like, this is one of those things that when I found it, when I was watching the commentary, I was like, oh, I cannot fucking wait to talk about that because that would have been fantastic. I can 100% see both of them in those roles, and I think it still would have been fantastic. But obviously, the movie we got is great. Not upset at all. But it would have been fucking amazing if you could have those two. But the reason Simon Pegg passed on it, he really wanted to do it, but the reason he passed on it is because he had already promised Edgar Wright that the first feature film he would do would be Shaun of the Dead. So they were obviously already working on Shaun of the Dead, and he was like, I can't. He's like, I'm working with Edgar Wright already. I got to do that. So at least we got Shaun of the Dead out of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
a great movie in its own right.
That's a fucking amazing zombie movie. So, okay, there's also a clock on the wall, apparently, that Neil Marshall smashed with a hammer himself because he didn't want there to be any continuity issues. So he just smashed it so that way it would fucking just be stuck on the same time and he wouldn't have to worry about, like, the time being different in every shot. That's kind of smart, actually. I would have done that. So, much like with Evil Dead, this movie has a lot of rights issues, and that's part of the reason why there's never been a sequel. And he states pretty overtly that there will probably never be a sequel, and it's 20 years later, and,
I mean, how would a sequel have worked?
So, I think I had that written here, I don't know. But he says pretty overtly there'll never be a sequel, despite that he had a whole trilogy mapped out. So, he was either going to have Cooper fight more werewolves or have him fight a different type of mythological creature, which is the setup with her saying, if the werewolves are real, what else is real?
That's kind of... Okay, so another movie took this idea and again failed to lead up to it. It's called a Big Legend.
I've never heard of that one.
It's about a Bigfoot thing. And, there's like some underlying plot that these two characters in the movie already knew about it the whole time.
Uh-huh.
And at the end, when they're talking to the dude who survived, he's like, well, what'd you do to it? He's like, I shot it, I burned it, stabbed it. They're like, it's dead. He's like, it's not dead. You just pissed it off.
Oh my God.
And then it ends with the title of the character's name saying he will return in the next 3 movies.
Fucking MCU movie?
To fight more creatures.
Huh. So yeah, I one of the main ideas was going to be that Cooper gets put in an insane asylum and he meets the guy from the tent in the beginning of the first movie, and the guy keeps saying, "I'm a werewolf. You have to get me out of here. Like, I'm gonna kill people." And Cooper knows that he's telling the truth, and everybody else is making fun of him. And then chaos ensues when the full moon happens, and he becomes a werewolf, and Cooper has to fight him. That was gonna be one thing. That was like the main idea for the sequel. And then he was gonna have him fight different creatures as the series progressed, which would have been neat, especially that initial sequel idea would have been fucking cool. But rights issues and money really fucks everything up, doesn't it? So they also didn't have the budget to make a full-blown werewolf transformation. Plus, Marshall stated that it wouldn't hold a candle to the transformation scene in American Werewolf in London.
Say that. No.
So that's why they did it the way they did it when Ryan changes. They also filmed a scene where Spoon gets ripped in half by the wolves after his punchline. And there's a behind-the-scenes picture of this in the booklet that comes with the Blu-ray. But Marshall felt that it would have been too much after his joke, and that it would have soured it. Like, it would have made the punchline, it would have been overshadowed, and he really wanted Spoon to have his moment before he died. So I get it, but he said it was a very disgusting practical effect, and it was gross, and his guts were hanging out and shit. He's like, we worked really hard on it. It's a shame we had to cut it. And I'm just like, well, sometimes for pacing. And then that's the sequel idea that I wrote. And then so a little bit more about Neil Marshall. There's an extended interview with him on the special features where he talks about how the first horror movie he ever saw was when he was 5. He said his dad woke him up and made him watch it. And he said, I can't remember if it was Frankenstein or The Bride of Frankenstein, but it's really what kind of got him into movies. And there was a period of time where Marshall wanted to become a visual effects artist, but he eventually settled on becoming a director, which, is why he kind of knew what to do when it came to the wolves, because he had a big hand in that, apparently. Also, Marshall describes the creative process, the writing process and everything for Dog Soldiers as an alcohol-fueled binge. He said that it was chaotic, but they got it done. And then about Hellboy, he did not enjoy his time working on it. He said that he was hired because they wanted to do a quote-unquote horror take on the character, but he wasn't allowed to edit the script, which he described as god-awful. And he had no creative control. It was literally just well, we want your name on it. It was that kind of thing. Studios, man, fucking hate them. They suck. Oh my, can you imagine a Neil Marshall fucking Hellboy movie? He also talks about how people were saying that the reliance on CG will oh, well, that's just a Neil Marshall thing. And he's like, I really take offense to that. He's like, because I cut costs in Dog Soldiers for the sake of practical effects. Yeah. So how are you going to say that, that's my thing? He's like, that was all the studio. He's like, everything that's bad about that fucking movie was the studio. And, Guillermo del Toro made some great-ass Hellboy movies, but can you imagine Neil Marshall having complete creative control to make his own Hellboy movie? He also talks about Doomsday a little bit, and he's like, I don't think people were ready for it. I haven't seen Doomsday, but I kind of know what it is. It's just, I think a bunch of, convicts on an island or something, and they're all fighting each other. I think that's Doomsday. I might be getting it mixed up with another movie, but it's some corporation televises inmates killing each other on an island. I think that's the movie I'm thinking of. I might be getting it mixed up.
That happens in Death Race also.
Yeah, that's a Death Race thing too. I know that, but I feel like that's Doomsday. I'm probably wrong, but he was talking about how I don't think people got it. He's like, but now he made some fantasy movie, and he's like, but now he's like, I'm making whatever movies I want. He's like, after Hellboy though, I'm never doing that shit again. He's like, cause I was under the impression that I was going to be able to make it my own, and I didn't get to, which is a damn shame. Cause I think a horror style Hellboy movie probably would have really worked under Neil Marshall, and that's why I still haven't watched the new Hellboy, because I knew it was going to be fucking garbage. If GDT's name wasn't attached to it, I didn't want to watch it.
And again, you take away a great actor like Ron
Perlman, who's perfect for fucking Hellboy. Yeah. And you give it to David Harbour, who's not a bad actor, but you can tell his heart wasn't in it. I mean, Ron Perlman loves the character.
He fucking wanted 3 for so long.
And Ron Perlman also arguably made Hellboy a household fucking name in the early 2000s.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody really knew what the hell that was.
Nobody knew who he was or anything. And Ron Perlman and Guillermo del Toro helped make that what it was. And just for them to just tell Guillermo it's never gonna happen, it's so shitty, man. Fuck, I hate studios sometimes. But anyway,
And the
so
whole plot they had behind that movie would have been cool too.
yeah, I never read those. I
It
never
would have
read the
been
plot
like
ideas.
some conflict with his children because they were twins, and it would have been so fucking cool.
Hey, but at least we got Hellboy and the Golden Army, you know? Like, at least we got those two movies.
Which I don't get why people rag on Golden Army so much. It was fine.
It was cool, yeah. I don't know. I think it's that thing where like people will walk into a movie expecting one thing and then they get mad when they don't have it.
Yeah.
Hype goes into it. Like I was talking, like I've talked about how I'm not crazy about Inception, and I think part of the reason I'm not crazy about it is because of how hyped up it was to me by my cousins, and I think those preconceived notions on what your idea of a film will be kind of can greatly drastically affect what the film will be. That's why I like to go into movies as blind as possible, because then I can just kind of enjoy it. And if I like it, I like it. If I don't, well, oh well. But if I go into it with like an idea of like, oh, it's going to be like this, and then it's not that, it really irks me.
It's like fucking Avatar.
And I'm like that with music and stuff too. So are we talking Blue People or are we talking The Last Airbender?
Blue People.
What about it?
How hyped the movie was.
Oh, yeah.
It's like visually, yes, that movie impressed. But the story is the most basic bitch, dumb thing. And then the second movie just redoes the same exact story.
Did you see the second
I
one?
haven't seen it, but it makes it pretty obvious in the trailers.
I've never
The trailers are almost shot the exact same as the first movie's trailers.
because I saw the first Avatar twice when it came out, and I don't remember a goddamn thing about it.
I remember the whole movie because they made me watch it in school.
Oh my god! But I remember I liked it.
Yeah, it was fine.
But it was never like I never thought of it as this big movie, and a lot of people like it's weird because like on Twitter I'll see people talking about how like, oh, Avatar has cultural impact and all this shit. Like cultural impact fucking matters. But it's not just that. It's this idea where it's like yeah, the movie made a lot of money, but like it doesn't mean the movie's good. And yeah, the movie might be quotable, but that doesn't mean the movie's good. Why do you want so badly for the movie that is your favorite to be everybody's favorite movie? Why can't you just enjoy it and be happy that it's yours? You know what I mean? Like one of my favorite movies is a movie about fucking French lesbians. Actually, probably my favorite movie is a movie about French lesbians. But I'm not gonna fucking campaign and make you like it as much as I do. I might show it to you if you're interested.
Did you hear that, Josh? Just enjoy Meshuggah. I don't like them. They are the most boring band I've ever heard. Woo, you can be technical with time signatures. Oh my god, take that away. What are you? Another basic metal band that does the same thing nobody else does.
Josh is gonna be upset. But anyway, I'm not gonna force somebody to like that movie. And if somebody doesn't like that movie, they don't like the movie. I mean, I might be interested to know why, just so like I might be able to get a different perspective on it. But like, it's not going to change my enjoyment of it, just like my opinion is not going to change your disenjoyment or enjoyment of it. Like, just have your favorite movie be your favorite movie. But it's like, I think like with Marvel movies, people do this. With the fucking Snyder films, the DC movies, people make it their whole fucking personality. And that happens with Avatar too. But with Avatar, it's a much smaller group of people. But the reason Avatar makes so much fucking money is because groundbreaking visual technology. People want to go see that. And they get it. They might not get an amazing story, but they definitely get amazing visuals, which is cool. But like,
right now at this,
it's not for me anymore. You know, like in 2009, it blew my mind, but now
everything looks like that.
Like I just don't really have a desire. Like I know the trailers looked really good. Like yeah, visually, wow, it looks great. But it didn't make me go like, yeah, I gotta watch this. You know,
it's like after a month of having my TV, I don't notice a difference anymore.
Yeah,
I just have the quality now.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some instances where I'm like, damn, that looks fucking great.
Yeah,
but this is just normal TV to me now.
Yeah, you get used to it, you know, and I think in a world of a bunch of CG, you know, superhero movies, it's hard for something like Avatar to be interesting to me now. But yeah, I just didn't have a desire.
And see, that's another thing that's like one of my friends constantly is like, why do you hate every game that comes out? And why do you like not like anything that's like not old or something you've been playing? It's because nothing's new. Every game that's coming out is almost the exact same thing something else was. It's just visually great.
You just have remakes now at this point.
Yeah.
They're kind of giving the game away.
Everyone just wants something to look fucking pretty.
Yeah.
And then everything else is garbage. Callisto Protocol.
You know, so I don't know. It's I don't know. I just don't understand people like obviously we love this movie.
Yeah.
But like if you were like, "Oh, it's just kind of shitty." I'd be like, "Okay."
Okay, fine.
Like that's fine, dude. I don't really like me personally. If you, I'd like to know why you don't like it, and then I'll tell you why I like it, just so we can get different perspectives, maybe. Because you might point out a flaw that I didn't notice. It may not change how I feel, but like I'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand now why you don't like it. And that's why whenever you or your brother would say you didn't like something, I'd always make a point to ask you, but why? Because I'd want to know, so that way I could understand it and be like, oh, okay, and then I'd know what to recommend you to figure out what you would like. Like that's what I would do, and I like to do that. It would always bug Josh because Josh could never tell me, but that's besides the point. Because he likes his stuff. It's okay. But yeah, I'm not gonna lose my shit if somebody doesn't like my favorite movie. But you have, I mean, like with the Snyder movies, with some MCU movies, and then with Avatar, you have people that are like willing to die for this shit, and I'm just like, dude, it's a movie. It's not that serious.
It was like after I showed Terrifier 2 to Juan, he was sitting there trying to analyze the plot. And I'm like, dude.
It's a splatter film, dude.
None of this is a point to the movie. Like you're
a splatter film.
You're saying you dislike it for things that it was not really focused on making appropriate. I mean, the movie ends with a magical sword healing the girl's wounds, and she kills this fucking clown that somehow rebirths its head through its past victim. Like, and you're trying to make sense of the plot of this movie?
Oh my God. I mean, but that's that's make or break for some people. Like
Yeah,
that's
I
why
guess.
people that's why some people don't like David Lynch's movies, because there's not really a narrative. It's more about feeling. And some people don't like movies if you can't relate to the main character. I had a friend that didn't like Goodfellas because he couldn't relate to Ray Liotta, and I'm like, you're not supposed to. Like, I don't understand. You're not supposed to relate to him. That's the point, is that you're just watching him kind of lose his mind. That's the point of the movie. But I mean, and that's fine. People. There are a million different movies out there made for different people. Just like my mom likes all those fucking Hallmark movies. She used to watch them every year on Christmas, all those same fucking Christmas movies. And that's her thing. She likes them. They make her happy. I'm not gonna I'll make fun of her sometimes, but I'm not gonna ever tell her that they're bad or whatever, or that she shouldn't watch them. I'm just like, oh, it's just kind of funny because they're all the same,
Well, now she knows how you feel.
Well, she already knows. I've already told her, but that's besides the point. Just like what you like, basically, is what I'm getting at. Just like whatever movies. If you like Avatar, cool, but don't be shitty to other people because you like it more than they do.
Don't get it.
Just don't fucking, I don't know, man. Just live your life. Have a good time. Post your opinions online and don't antagonize anybody. Justin. Anyway, so anyway, back to the movie. So the people that played the werewolves, they were actually professional dancers that stood on stilts, complete with a mechanical werewolf head, and they could not see out of that. So that's why they were probably feeling for the ceiling when they were walking in. Now, yeah, they had no peripheral. Well, okay, they had no peripheral vision. That's right. They could see, but they had no peripheral vision. So they kept bumping into each other when they were trying to sidestep and shit. So it was just very hard for them to see. And so I'm guessing it was just like this, real. I'm doing a bionicle. I'm doing a binocular thing with my hands right now. I'd imagine that's how it was. R.I.P. Bionicles, by the way. And then so when Cooper punches the Sarge, he broke his nose. In one of the takes, he punched him for real and broke his nose. And he says Sarge just kind of tanked it, and he was like, "No, it's okay. It's part of the movies, whatever." And then about the design of the cottage, there's a special feature on there called "A Cottage in the Woods," where they talk about how it was made. And he wanted it to feel as lived in as possible, but he also wanted it to have its own character, to kind of be its own thing in the movie. And then obviously he designed the entire set with the intention of it being destroyed. So that's all I wrote about that. but it's just a little production. I like talking about the production of the movie. But yeah, I think they did a great job with this. I think it's one of the best werewolf movies of all time, definitely of the last 20 years. I wish they'd make more, but
that is my wish every day.
But I was talking with another one of my friends about this, and it's just very hard to make creature features, because nobody cares. It's
Yeah.
I mean, but different genres have their days,
But we'll pump out every single ghost movie possible.
Yeah, and that genre died. So that's what I was gonna say is like, slashers had their heyday in the '80s and they declined. Then you had meta slashers kind of had their heyday in the '90s and that declined. And then you had torture porn went up and declined with Saw and Hostel and all that. Then you had Paranormal Activity and that came and went. And then now you're back to slashers kind of being on top, where you have Halloween and Scream and all these movies coming back, except for Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. Where's that? But anyway, so you have all these different, you have slashers kind of taking the reign again.
Yeah.
And then, jump scare fests have kind of steadily
They're still in there.
existed since like 2010. So maybe one day, because creature features were big in like the 40s and 50s. Like that was like the type of horror, like Dracula, fucking Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Wolfman, all that shit. Invisible Man. That was what horror was. It was monsters. It was that. And then they started making the monsters people. And then that's when slashers kind of became a thing.
See, that's what I like. Reality is scary in itself, but like they said in the movie, now that you know what's in the shadow, what else is out there? Like,
Yeah.
that shit, like, call it stupid or whatever. I'm a believer of that shit. Like,
Yeah.
there's got to be some shit out there. There's truth to every fucking myth.
You know how deep
Like,
the ocean is?
yeah.
There's something down there. That's all I'm saying.
Like,
There could be a Cthulhu in the fucking ocean and we just don't know it.
Yeah.
Like
that's just such an interesting thing to me. Like, I've sat up all night watching YouTube videos about monsters and cryptids and all that shit, and it's just like
gnomes and
Like-
and where they've been spotted.
Jesus. Yeah, those gnome videos are funny as
Yeah,
hell.
they're hilarious. I love them.
Fucking, God damn it, I forgot his name.
What's his name?
Chills.
Oh, this is number 13.
Yeah,
The brown greaser. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, all that shit, like Monster Crab, like, that really interests me. Like, all that stuff. Like,
yeah, it's cool. Like, that's why I love fucking kaiju movies. Like, that's why I love Godzilla, because it's different. It's not reality. And yeah, you could take your supernatural slashers and say, well, that's not realistic or whatever. But like, it's different when it's a fucking creature feature. Like, I don't know. Like, I hope they have a resurgence one day, because I love them. They're fun. They're cool. And you can do interesting things with them. Just like Dog Soldiers, just like an American Werewolf in London. Like, why can't, like, creature features haven't had a heyday since the fucking 40s and 50s, I know there were a bunch of creature features in Russia in the 50s and 60s, and then you have obviously kaiju movies. And then in Japan, what's big with them is ghost stories. Like, I have the Grudge collection up there now. But it's like, I want more werewolf movies. I want more monster movies. And, sometimes you get that. I mean, like, Barbarian's kind of a monster movie.
I
Fucking
still haven't watched that.
Smile, I think, is kind of a monster movie
It's
from
like a demon or something.
clips that I've seen. Yeah, it's, I don't know. I like just fucking make another werewolf movie. I don't know, like just make another werewolf,
Or
make another
some kind of
make a
creature
good
movie.
vampire movie. Like do something, because like vampire movies have sucked since like Bram Stoker's Dracula by what's his name, Francis Ford Coppola.
Well, Underworld was the last good thing.
And Underworld
vampires
was good.
did.
Underworld was good too, but that was more like action horror.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just hope it gets a resurgence one day. I mean, we have Robert Eggers making Nosferatu, which has the potential to be this atmospheric gothic horror thing. But like, I want another werewolf movie. Like, I want something like that.
It's like I said in the beginning. What stops werewolf movies and I guess creature movies in general is the monster itself.
Yeah.
Practical. Oh, too expensive. CGI. Oh, it looks like shit. No one's gonna watch this.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, even like Alien movies. We haven't had a good fucking Alien movie since
Yeah.
like The Thing, Like, Alien, I guess Aliens is it's more action though. And then the assembly cut of Alien 3, I think, is pretty great. But yeah, like The Thing is a fantastic Alien movie. We don't really get a lot of those either. And I mean, I think part of it is like Justin said. I think part of it is CGI is kind of taken over and fucking.
and no one wants to commit to putting somebody in a suit and
Kinda
going through the
fucked it.
trouble of making it and all
Yeah,
that.
there was an art to it, and it just kind of bums me out that everything is so CG dependent. Like, I understand you can create these amazing worlds with it and stuff, but like, I don't know, man. Simplicity is sometimes the best thing. And for stuff like this, I mean, this movie isn't like groundbreaking practical effects wise, but it works.
Yeah.
And I think it's fucking cool and it has a nice B movie charm to it. And that's all you need sometimes. But, you know, it's not profitable. It's not cost effective because of the effects. So, I mean, from a business standpoint, I get it, but from an artistic standpoint, suck my dick. Like that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. I hope one day creature features have a resurgence, but you know slashers are the thing right now, and I mean you know Halloween Ends was something. I don't know how I feel about it still. That we got the new Scream coming out. I'm excited for that because I liked Scream 5. So you know. Halloween Kills was a fantastic slasher of what you want is gore, you know, we've it's not like we've been starved of like good horror.
Yeah.
It's just I want a specific type to come back, you know. I don't know. We got Evil Dead Rise coming out. That's going to be a fun one, but like I don't know. I just want
they do
more
it right.
more monster movies. But yeah, that's Dog Soldiers, I think. Did you want to say anything else about it before we close this out?
Werewolves are great.
There we go.
Watch all the movies you can about them, even the bad ones, because there really aren't that many out there.
Yeah.
The few great ones, at least in my opinion. This one, obviously. American Werewolf in London, obviously.
Yeah.
The Ginger Snaps movies are great, because again, it's practical, I think, in every single one. The first two Howlings are good. Well, I mean, I like all of them, but after 2, they got really fucking stupid with their stories
Yeah.
and just did whatever the fuck they wanted.
Oh, there's cat people.
The marsupial one and all that.
Yeah.
They looked fucking weird. Hell, even the 2 werewolf-focused episodes of the original Goosebumps show are great.
There's that werewolf Love, Death, and Robots episode too. That's pretty alright. It's Dog Soldiers, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
There's another werewolf thing I watched related a while back. I mean, it wasn't practical effects, but it was still all right.
this isn't a movie, but Silver Bullet, I think, is the name of it. Is that Stephen King short book
It
that's
is a
got all the
movie.
illustrations? Yeah, it's a movie too, but the book is very good.
Which was also practical effects.
Yes.
And that's also another top-tier werewolf movie.
Yeah, Silver Bullet's also a very good book. I recommend that. Or the movie. I haven't seen the movie, but if Justin says it's good, I'll take his word for it. So.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's Dog Soldiers, everybody. Thanks for listening to us ramble about it for a little bit. Next time we're gonna look at Evil Dead 2013. Hopefully next week. I don't know. I think I should be able to do it by next week. But yeah, we're looking at Evil Dead 2013, the last of the Evil Deads. And then we'll look at Halloween Ends, and then we'll look at another one-off, and then we'll start our next franchise. And whatever that'll be, it'll be up to you. So thanks for listening. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Mustachio Cage. Follow our Facebook page that's run by Justin. Tell your friends about us if they like to watch 2 idiots ramble for 2 hours on end. I mean, if they listen to Joe Rogan, they're already doing that. So you know, just go ahead and give us some love. You know.
I don't understand people's fascination with him.
He's it's like that meme. Hold on.
I mean, he just says whatever the fuck he wants.
Hold
So you're
on,
like,
let me-
cool, but
let me
I mean,
see.
I can do that too.
Let me see, Joe. Let me find this fucking. Yeah. So this is one of my favorite posts about Joe Rogan, where it's Joe Rogan is like some barbarian con from the steppes that took an interest in intellectual things, and his show is basically him bringing slightly nervous scholars and magicians to come before him to explain how the world works. Glasses man, you explain to Joe why sky big and how tree grow, but he will also believe almost anything you tell him, and only recently in the past few years does he clap back, like, Tiny Hat Man say otherwise. Do you lie to Joe? Tiny Hat Man say fat not bad for you, that sugar is enemy, so which is true? Joe thinks you are wrong, and people just nervously go, oh okay, yeah, I guess so. Joe spent many moons on horseback and training with bow and sword, but Joe also wonder why sky fire rise from mountains every morning. You will explain this to Joe. Like that's my favorite post about him because it's very accurate. But you know, you can listen to him, you can listen to us because we just talk shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
If someone out there can listen to the fucking Paul brothers, you can listen to us.
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they're
So, talk about some worthless human beings.
talk about horror. Anyway, so that's us. Just give us a follow, subscribe on YouTube. Eventually, we'll record ourselves visually. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But thanks for listening, everybody that listens to our episodes. It means a lot.
We appreciate you.
It means a lot. It means a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And Evil Dead next time. And have a great New Year, everybody. Because regardless of when the next episode comes out, it'll be 2023. Hopefully, it'll be better than 2022. But that's all we got. That's all we got today, everybody.
Beware the moon.
Beware
Stick
the
to the
moon.
road.
So,
Wrong movie.
all right.
I mean, it still applies.
Yeah, it does. All right. Say bye-bye.
Oh.
Bye. Fuck off.